quarterback Trinidad Chambliss, who got Ole Miss into field goal range in the final minute. Lucas Carnero booted a 47-yard field goal with 6 seconds remaining, and it marked the second straight win for Rebels coach Pete Golding, who replaced Lane Kiffin after Kiffin left for LSU. Here's the head coach of the Fiesta Bowl-bound Rebels after the game.
These guys to play the way they did and to be able to come back, in a game like that versus a team like that. They're one of the best teams in the country and one of the best coaches in the country. So, they're never scared and they don't panic. And that's what I love about this group. They don't ever get too high. They don't get too low. They want to get coached. They want to get coached hard, and they want another opportunity.
Incredible win for the Rebels on Thursday night. Cam, I start with you. From what you saw with Ole Miss, their ability to come back and win that game, can they win a national championship based on what you saw last night?
Absolutely. When you got a quarterback like Trinidad Chambliss playing out of his mind, the opportunities are limitless. You have a fearless team that are playing motivated. They're playing inspired. They're guys are taking turns making plays. And there was a moment during that game yesterday where it all looked like a repeat of the first outing, where it's like, okay, Georgia's finding a way to win this football game. And then Ole Miss and Pete Golding said to themselves, no, not today. And it was very rewarding to see a team come alive, given the circumstances that they have been faced with all year, well, in the latter part of the year, and finding ways to win. So, yes, I'm giving, Ole Miss an edge to win the college football playoffs because they have shown the grit, the determination, and the want to throughout the distractions.
Paul?
Cam, I think it's important to remember that Trinidad Chambliss was a Division II player last year, Courtney and everybody. He was not expected to do anything. He ended up on Lane Kiffin's team, and we'll get to Lane Kiffin in a minute. And he unseated Austin Simmons. And some of the plays in that game in the second half were some of the most dramatic and exciting I have ever seen. Clutch plays I've ever seen in my career. I don't know how he did it, but he willed his team to win. So they're capable. Their road is difficult, and we'll deal with that. But I can't help but think about the person sitting at an LSU women's basketball game last night, and that's Lane Kiffin. He abandoned this team because he didn't believe in them. If you had given Lane Kiffin truth serum, Cam, do you think this team can get to the third round, the semifinals of the college football playoff? He would have said, probably not. That's why I'm bailing out. I'm walking out on my team. And it is just so remarkable to see what those players have done. Pete Golding using mostly Lane Kiffin coaches who are shuttling back and forth between Baton Rouge and Oxford. It's just one of the most remarkable stories we have ever seen. It's a long shot. I think for them to get by Indiana, or even if they get by Miami, is going to be a little bit of a long shot. But the fact that we're talking about it today with only 4 schools left is remarkable.
The Ole Miss should be thanking Lane Kiffin. And they should be thanking him for so many different things. Can they win a national championship? Yes, only if Charlie Weiss Jr. continues to call plays, because in Trinidad Chambliss, you have the most dynamic football player left in the college football playoff. But Lane Kiffin set this in motion. Lane Kiffin put this team together. Lane Kiffin put this coaching staff together. And Lane Kiffin leaving made this team play with more purpose than any other team that's in the entire college football playoff. They want to show that it wasn't all about him. They want to show him that you shouldn't have left us. They want to show him that if you didn't believe in us for this year, or that if you didn't believe in this school going forward, that you were wrong. And that's the way that this team played. This wasn't about having better players than the University of Georgia. This wasn't about having a better roster. This was about Pete Golding, a former Delta State safety, looking at his team when they were down 14-12, saying, hey, man, y'all got to pick this up. After Dalen Everett picks up that fumble and scores on the scoop and score, hey, man, we got to go make plays. But also going into halftime and telling that team that you aren't the leftovers. You aren't the team that nobody wants. I want you. I want to be here, and we have an entire half to go show the entire nation that we not only belong, but that we're good enough to move on to the next round.
And we know that Pete Golding, this is his second straight win. He just took over as the head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels on November 30th. That was made official. And he's got a lot of coaches on his staff right now that are going to be going to LSU, mostly on that offensive side of the ball. So, Paul, as you look at the coaching job that Golding did in totality, keeping guys locked in when there's probably some stuff going on behind the scenes with maybe players getting recruited to LSU actively as they're trying to win a national championship for Ole Miss, do you think that Pete Golding outcoached Kirby Smart last night?
Well, I think you can say that, but Kirby Smart really beat himself. He had an inexplicable fourth down call in his own territory that really set the game in motion. I've rarely seen Kirby Smart make a miscue like that, but I think you made a great point there a minute ago. Pete Golding, this was not as difficult as I think next week will be, and I'll explain, because the transfer portal opened today. And Lane Kiffin was expecting all of those coaches who coached last night in New Orleans to travel up to Baton Rouge today and start bringing in a lot of players, including many perhaps on that Ole Miss roster that Lane Kiffin built and put together. I don't know what is going to happen. I'll defer to Ryan on that, because there is probably chaos going on right now as Ole Miss has to quickly put in a plan. They're playing next Thursday. I mean, it's game week already as this team buses back into Oxford this morning, and I don't know if they know at this hour who's going to be calling the plays next week. You'd have to think that the staff will stay intact, but how is that going to work with a lot of Lane Kiffin's coaches right now, maybe trying to recruit the roster that won the game last night? We have seen a lot of craziness in college football, but we have never seen anything that is currently going on the way it is right now. I mean, we're at the most important moment of the year, and we don't even know who's coaching next Thursday night in Arizona.
Listen, whether people want to believe this or not, but I'm going to be the one that says it. Ole Miss winning yesterday or last night was definitely not a part of the plan, including Coach Lane Kiffin. Well, Pete Golding goes out here and says, hey, let me take a team that had misfortune earlier in the season, and it came down to this, winning the fourth quarter. The first time that when Ole Miss went into Georgia, they lost the fourth quarter. They had 0 points and gave up 17 points. Yesterday, you ask yourself, why did Ole Miss win? Why did Pete Golding get his team going? It's because they scored 20 points in the fourth quarter. Why do you say that? Well, nobody was expecting Ole Miss to win. Now you have a coach divided. You have coaches that are supposed to coach on a different team still coaching in the college football playoffs, and it throws a big wrench in where we are now. What do you do? What's going to happen? And needless to say, I have this to say about any coach in college football. Everything has changed. Don't sit up here and say going to a different school will give you different opportunities, because